the light will get a little bouncy, but picture me as a young George Hamilton. That's my true look. Sometimes Mr. McBeevy if I'm wearing the right headgear. But what I am doing now is I am stretching. This is not the brace height. That's just a brand new string on this PB. They'll stretch a little bit. But when you buy from me the 2 for $200 set or the 1 for $125 paddle boat plus shipping and packing, that's takes some effort. You're not going to get a fancy string. You're going to get a string made from B50 something. Those style ends. And it's not a fancy one, but it's a good one. It's 14 strand made, and I will admit it, with my hand drill. And so it's not a plated loop. For that investment, you're getting a primordial string. The same, more or less, aside from the material, the same kind of string that a lot of the original bows use. And so they were typically tied on. There was some form of a semi-permanent hitch, knot type of thing at one end, the bottom end, and tie on the top. I like this. It forces you to be an active participant in the stringing of your bow. Every time can be like a different brace height. And I know there are people that it needs to be at exactly this measurement. Brace. It needs to be exactly the same. You need absolute consistency, but feel the force. Be willing to have a brace that varies by a quarter or half an inch. Honestly, with my paddle bows, once you just release and go with it, it's very intuitive. You get an idea of the feeling of the pull, and it's almost like throwing a baseball. At least that's how I feel about it. And so the paradox really isn't an issue if you use full-length shafts, which in this modern world, full-length usually is about 31 inches, plus or minus. I like to have a little bit of arrow sticking out beyond the back of the bow. Just, again, I'll say it over and over again. It makes them a little more compliant as far as, that spine. But anyway, there's a lot of different ways that you can secure the end. And a lot of them are almost like the same knots climbers use, or Boy Scouts for that matter. There's, I do this. It's kind of hard with this little one. There we go. I can do this with a rope. A clove hitch, And maybe secure it on the end of the bow. My loops aren't even. There they go. Looking kind of even. Give yourself a little more latitude and then finish it off with like a half-inch hitch. You can use a timber hitch. And you can pay particular attention to the twist of the thing. A timber hitch is just, this is hard to see here. Okay, I'm going around here, then I go back around, and I've got that loop there, and then back through there a few times. Timber hitch. Just look up timber hitch, and you get this slidey loop, and it'll grip onto the bow. There's a lot of ways to do it. One way is, it's kind of clove hitchy looking, and it's simply, I'm not going to secure, I'm going to give myself a long way, and all I'm doing is neatly, it's almost like a figure of 8, almost, but it's not. And this is the way it may or may not come. And then you see you have that big loop, and then you just put that around there, tie, dress, and set. So then it'll go over the end of the bow. I'm just going to go ahead and string it. It's upside down. I've got my name there. And I use old knee to the handle of the bow. Then I just take this, And I've got a glove sitting on the ground. Throw your hat on the ground. You can do all sorts of things. And I'm going to take, let me tilt this down. Probably see me do this once, twice, or 1,000 times. There we go. Kick my glove over there. Then I'm just going to, see, I've got my finger right here, right at the very tip, and I've got the glove down there at the bottom. With a heavy bow, you can just lean back, use your weight, and then I secure it. And there's a better detail of it. It'll stretch a little bit in how to string and unstring a paddle bow. Then a couple half hitch-you-alls up there, and it'll settle in, but it's basically it. If you look at a lot of, say, primordial bows, you might see an end of string hanging out, but then I just take that, do-do-do-do, you have to do that, do-do-do-do, and just put through there, and you see string handling 101. And you can see the brace has gone down, but again, it's brand new string. Stretching a little bit. And that's basically it. And I like this because kind of primitive bows, right? You're not using like high-tech compound bow with all that stuff glued all over it, which is, I'm not putting you down. Clean kill, it's clean kill. Going for meat, I've knocked down deer with compound bows before. I've used a rifle. I admit it. You know, meat is meat. But when you go towards these kind of bows, you know, you could have a 2-loop string on your bow. That's perfectly fine. It's convenient, and you get that exact brace height every time. But I like this. I like being difficult. And there are people that hate these kinds of strings. There are people that like them. People that understand. The cavemen in us. The Carlos in us picking on you in a good way. Is that sometimes you just want to step back and have a bow that retains a lot of the primitive character. And part of it is a string. The string isn't just a thing on there, and there's some beautiful strings that people make, artistic strings. There's people that they make bows. There's people that just make strings. Gorgeous things. But you know, I like this. It's a string. It's a 2-ply reverse twisted, 14 strand, B something. I don't know if it's B55 or B50. And honestly, I think the only thing about B55 and B50 is just the manufacturer. I think what, Brownell or whatever made one and somebody makes the other. Did I just untie the wrong one? No, I didn't. That's it. Earlier, make sure I got the right one up there. Yep, I did. Earlier, I was tight on the top. Made sure all my equipment worked. I don't know what kind of knot that is, because both ends come out of the same side. That's not a secure knot. Not as secure as like a timber hitch or a clove hitch with a half hitch on it, although you could half hitch that. Made sure all my equipment ran. You know, there's a lot of people that save gas over the winter. They're 2-stroke, they're premix thing, and it can collect water and stuff like that. You'd be amazed, you know, listening to Chick Canick, how many people in Arkansas, which is a lot more humid and warm than Michigan, you know, how the water will follow the gas. And every so often, you know, seriously, empty your tanks. She's saying just throw it in your car. You know, your car can handle that stuff. Plus you're diluting it through a bigger gas tank and stuff like that. But yeah, it's funny how like the majority of engines come into my shop because they've got water in the fuel. So that's something to think about. But yeah, both chainsaws started, my leaf blower started. I was, I guess, breaking in. My stump grinder, which means I was just kind of letting it run at a low RPM, because you know, like, don't just get it, put oil in it, and just race it. You have to be patient. Longevity. Life is a marathon. With that, I'm going to finish this bow off, package our friend Chuck's bows, get those all ready to go off. Maybe I'll do some painting tonight. Then work on this, that, and the other thing, whatnot, and etc. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.